What's up, landlords? It's Renee here. I got Josh. We just linked up and we pretty much don't know each other, and we're just going to do a chat on live and see how this goes. So Josh, tell me how you found me and what initiated this whole interaction that we're starting off with.
Yeah, so actually for the last few weeks, I've been seeing a lot more advertisement around School, the platform School. And up early yesterday morning, I was taking a look around School, and I think I ran across your channel, found your X handle, reached out to you. We had some shared, synergies, if you will. We aligned some places, fellow veteran, both in real estate. And I thought, hey, look, here's his X handle. Might as well reach out and just say, hey, see what you got going on. And then I noticed that you had an ETH address in your handle. And I was like, all right, we might share some blockchain stuff here. So just thought it was a really interesting connect and thought I needed to touch base with you.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. So I just prepared some questions, and I feel like this can be like our template to just go. If we go off script, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no pressure. You already covered a few questions. I'd like to ask how you got into real estate investing.
So real estate investing actually happened for me through my profession. I got into property management about 14 years and some change, I believe, ago. And it was just kind of a natural progression. I learned how to manage and operate first multifamily, actually working in military housing. And then I went to conventional multifamily. Then I went to single family before big portfolios really existed. And I worked in Remax for a Remax franchise for a short period of time in the Mid-Atlantic up in Virginia. And then I went into institutional portfolio management for a while, and I did build for rent there. Built a platform for a really large portfolio where I live in Jacksonville. And yeah, kind of stumbled into the investment side through just really the back end of my management career. Because I was like, I'm always around it. I'm around investors. I know how to operate assets. Might as well invest while I'm doing it, right?
Yeah, dude, for sure. I love it. So you got your own properties that you manage, and you also help others. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I only have a few properties of my own, and I do DIY management on it. But I've been in property management now for over 15 years.
Sweet.
And I've managed everything from a single asset all the way up to portfolios in the thousands. Each portfolio size, there's a scale step and different things that happen and things change. So I've kind of ran the gamut of one single asset all the way up to thousands.
Yeah, bro, that's awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm like a landlord, small scale. I got 5 units that I rent, and I manage it myself. I deployed a lot, worked in the Middle East, and I kind of developed my own style of kind of like long distance self-management. I did notice that you have a website. I think it's called Reops. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, and I like it. You had a bunch of stuff going on. You did mention some crypto stuff. We gotta talk about that for sure. But right now, I love the real estate part. So, what is a fractional property investor?
So, a fractional property operator is a concept I came up with. No worries, in portfolio management, because like I was speaking, every one of those scale steps, you either had to add staffing or resources, and it was kind of a stopgap measure for people that are trying to grow portfolios but don't know what they need next or how to, maybe what the next step might be. And then in doing that for a short period of time, think of it more of around like property management consulting. And then what I noticed was a lot of people were requesting for inspections, and I found a need in the DIY landlord space, specifically for, remote landlords like yourself that can't actually physically go to the property, and they might not want to necessarily retain a property manager that's just mainly going to collect your rent for you, take their percentage, and a lot of times never make it out to your property to actually check and make sure that the tenant's performing to the lease, and your asset, your home, what your investment is wrapped up in, is actually being taken care of. You're doing long range capital planning. There's a lot of things that a physical presence can really bolster as far as returns go from an investment side of operating a single family rental.
Okay, dude, that's awesome. Do you have a real estate license? Are you like certified as an inspector? What's your background with that stuff?
So outside, I do property management focused inspections. I'm not a certified home inspector, so we don't advertise as such. And we're mainly focused on move-ins, move-outs, basically those functions within property management, midterm renewal, making sure that your home is being taken care of before you go and renew a tenant. Which again, something that typically used to be done by a property manager. But as the industry has grown, property managers have done less and less of that without actually adding an additional fee or charge on for it. So we thought, hey, standalone service, we could just do inspections that focus just on that and what you want to see as far as liability mitigation for, smoke detectors, dryer vents, those kind of things that a resident might have a problem with while they're living in the home, but then also look at it from an asset perspective and like, okay, when's the last time you replaced the roof? Are you planning for that? If you're only cash flowing $300 a month, maybe we need to start looking a couple years out, planning for that roof replacement, especially now, like in a place like Florida where I'm at, insurance is really starting to be a problem with roofs. So
yeah, I like that because go ahead. You get something else?
I was just going to say, I didn't know if I answered all the question. I heard I know I got the certified home inspector question, but
oh no, I was just wondering if you were operating like with a brokerage and stuff, and I got a vibe. I see what you're doing because me as a sorry about my dog. Me as
no worries. I got 3 of them.
Cool. As a landlord, do-it-yourself landlord, what I typically do will hire a handyman that really kind of knows the stuff that I trust that's in that area, because I want to operate outside of contracts, dealing with property managers and contracts and all that stuff. Hold on one second. Caesar, come. Caesar, get in. Come. He's a cane corso. I don't know if you can see him. That's a big dog. He likes to bark. Anyways, right. So the fractional property operator. And then would you say your one main thing that you offer that maybe you have the most takers on would be your inspections and stuff like that? Okay.
Yep, definitely our inspections. We're launching a brand new website. It's Reops Inspect. I just invested in some software. So we're really kind of going both feet in on the inspection side of it. Because again, my market's really rental heavy in Jacksonville. I would say that we probably got upwards of 25,000 single family rentals alone. So there's a lot of inspection needs there.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I think you're onto something with that. When I went to your website, I was a little confused because there was some crypto stuff there, and I'm clicking all around and I looked a bunch of stuff, and just give you my honest, unbiased first impression. Good feedback is help you get better. As I was a little confused when I got on your website, I'm clicking all over and I'm all this, but I will tell you, your rehab reviews with your military vibe and stuff was money. If I was going to get feedback, I'd say, hey, you should go all in with your Rumble account, doing a bunch of those rehab reviews. You're so good with it. You can tell you're super knowledgeable. Your intro with it, like everything about it, dude, I loved it. I was even showing it to my wife. I was like, hey, check out this guy. I want to try to, do like a podcast with him and go live and see how this works out. So, I'm done with all that. I just want to get some general stuff. This is practice for me because I've never done this before. I'd like to know.
That's great feedback, because can I ask you though, are you at my hustle? Are you at my my Linktree page?
What I went to was, I found you
What's
first
on my Twitter.
On your Twitter.
Okay.
And then I clicked.
That's actually like the first kind of website that I made. That's more like a Linktree. So the way that I kind of outline this is I put all my social media at the top, and then my first company. So Reops is an actual company. I put that at the top, and then Digahash is our tech side, where Digahash I'm actually developing on the block. So Digahash is a separate company. That's my technology company.
Okay.
And that's where we're actually developing, NFTs and blockchain use case and Web3 development.
Okay.
And then Rent falls underneath that as a development of Digahash. And then Reops is a separate company. So it's essentially 2 separate companies, Reops and Digahash. Digahash tech side, Reops is fractional property operations, where we focus on mainly inspections.
Okay, this one is ultimately where I landed, and I kind of was getting more of a real estate vibe, and I was liking more of this stuff. Let me go back, because let me show you. I clicked some of these links and I think some of them are broken up, but you did say you're recently setting all this stuff up, but that's just my honest feedback. Let me go to the Rumble.
I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah. I went through every single video that you had. You got like 30 of them or something, and I watched them all, liked them all, and comment on a bunch of them. But this most recent one, the clean, what is this? The bad rehab review, the ugly cleaning woes. Man, that was the best one I liked when you got into like
so that last
case studies.
House ended up leasing at $1,260. I think when I did that when I updated that video last, it was like $1,400.
Really?
So I believe while it was on market, their loss to lease was somewhere in the, like, it was over 10 grand. So that house, just because, and it was filthy and there was roaches. If they would have just cleaned the house and presented it a little bit better, they would have leased that home so much sooner and probably at a higher rental rate. And it's things like that that just drive me insane, that are too easy and correctable, because you don't have to rehab the property. You just need to clean it.
Yeah.
Right. And then not only that, but you get sucked into this cycle of, if you don't want to put any money into your property, what's going to happen is you're going to get less and less quality tenants over time. And they're going to have less desire to want to take care of your asset for you. And it's a cycle that it's a run to the bottom once you start getting into it. And I try to tell everybody, if you can't spend a couple $100 in between tenancies, like not even to paint the house, just to clean it. Just clean it. That's the one thing you can control. You can go over there and control and like clean it on a night for, a couple hours if it's really bad, break down the appliances. But that's the one controllable thing in real estate investing with rental property that I just can't stress enough. From a competitive advantage and people wanting to rent your property, clean it.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I kind of think of it as like a triangle. The first point I would say would be location and the property asset itself. And that's where you're talking about keeping it clean, making sure it's well maintained and all that, because the next part of the triangle would be the tenant, which attracts, a good property attracts a good tenant. And then the third part, which I think is the least important, but is important, is the management. A lot of times I think landlords will get a property and they did not pick a good location. They're not taking care of it. It's attracting bad tenants. And then they think the management company is just going to work miracles and stuff like that. So you're onto it.
So to your point, you can't change location, right?
True.
Like you're kind of, once you get the location, you're pretty much stuck with that, unless you're going to pick up that house and try to move it and buy another plot of land. But so location's a node, right? You could rehab the interior, new flooring, new paint, those kind of things. Those are all typically higher price point things that, and if you don't have the skill set, you can't really do yourself, or if you're not physically there, right? But the clean, it's the one controllable all the time. And even if you're not in the best location, you're still going to get a quality resident within that geolocation that can afford that. Mm-hmm. That is not going to go to the places that, that are filthy and have roach problems. And everybody needs housing. And I just think, the best way to take care of a renter is to take care of the property. You take care of the property, you typically take care of the renter, and then being a good landlord is just kind of gravy on the mashed potatoes to me. That's the competitive advantage, is being the difference in the landlord, where if the location's just the same and it's clean, it's safe, it's functional for the most part, then landlord's just gravy on the mashed potatoes.
You know your stuff, bro. Okay, so you got your own rental properties and you're doing your self-management, you got your business. What's your exit strategy? How long are you gonna do this? You got a game plan?
So I do. The inspections company, we're looking at and I think I mentioned this to you in messages. I'm looking at a software platform to benefit resident perform tasks inside a home, to allow a landlord to have to worry less about the inspection side and overseeing it. And how do we collect that information? What kind of information to collect, and how do we prove it? That's where the blockchain comes in. So that's what I've been working on the tech side, is a platform where basically residents can self-report actions that make it easier to manage a property, then in turn making the margins better, that landlord could potentially give a better deal. So think about it as building a credit report for a renter at the same time as a landlord is getting an easier managed asset.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I have stumbled around in the crypto space, and I know some people were talking about trying to put NFTs with the ownership of a rental asset on the blockchain because it's immutable and nobody can control it. But it's still going to pass through a human's hands, and there's still some area for like mistakes. And what happens if the person dies and then they can't go in and connect their wallet and transfer it with like a cosign and all this stuff. So I've heard people rebuttal that idea, but what you're on to, I think you might be going somewhere that could be productive, because you know how like every tenant, there's a lot of squatters and stuff like that, and they right now we're using like credit score, and we're trying to find out if they're telling the truth, they're lying, and do you really work here? Is this really your boss? Am I talking to your past landlord, or is this your friend? And you got to be kind of creative. There's like softwares people can make fake pay stubs and all that, but when it's on the blockchain, stuff like that kind of, when you got a contract, a wallet address and stuff like that, you can't mess around and fake that stuff. You can go look it up on the ledger and it's like permanent. So when it comes to the lease, like the property management, what specific area or what would the software focus on mostly? Would it be like paperwork, digital stuff, or like, you know, maintenance stuff?
So the best way to describe it without getting too detailed is so blockchain, the benefit of blockchain is distributed ledger technology, right? So the idea and concept is well, if you could take a ledger of something, of tasks completed by a resident, what would be beneficial for a resident's task for you to keep track of, and what would it be beneficial for them to have proof of, right? So in between rentals, what would be beneficial for a renter to have proof of? How, you know, what was the turn cost on the last home they lived at? Did they pay rent on time? And the only way that we do this in a very manual way still, because real estate's still very manual, despite how much technology has come to this space in a very short period of time. And you still do rental references. That should be a thing of the past. You should never have to pick up the phone and call to verify that somebody leased something someplace. So my model is essentially, as a resident, I could have my own ledger that I show, and I self-report the things that I do, and it just be validated in order to go onto a blockchain, and then I can carry around an access to that report via an NFT, and I can show proof of how I've taken care of a home. And then if I have that power as a renter, can I now negotiate? If I'm an institutional landlord, would I pay more if I could get a list of these top-end renters? Potentially.
Yeah, I think you're onto something.
I just think that, I don't think there's been a model to be able to do this before. And I think blockchain is kind of that necessary missing piece to allow these kind of things to happen.
Yeah.
So does it provide some clarity?
Okay. Yeah, it's still over my head. I don't got a gist of it, but I know a lot of stuff. Like even the government is learning the benefits of the blockchain because nobody can mess with it, and they're trying to do their own like currency. But they're going to have like keys, private keys, where they can go in the back end and still control it. So that's why the true decentralized networks like Ethereum, like Pulse Chain, and maybe some other ones, those are the two that I would trust so far. Bitcoin, but Bitcoin, they don't allow you to build contracts, smart contracts and stuff on it. It gets kind of crazy, but people might see this and say, hey, crypto, real estate, you know, it's going to be the future. I think the blockchain is going to get in there somehow, some way. My passion is landlording and all that stuff, so I'm gonna keep going. We can kind of put that to the back burner because I think it's kind of over my head. But I want to close this with, did you say what your exit strategy was with your rental properties and stuff? Because you brought that part up.
So my duplex, we had just recently bought and built it, so we're that rental property we're probably gonna hold for a while. I moved around some short-term rentals over the last couple of years just because I didn't expect that to continue at the rate and pace that it was, and it got really saturated in our area that we were operating. So we moved some there. Exit as far as the companies go. I'm right now. I'm building out specifically the local market for the inspection side. I would like to take that to additional core markets and potentially franchise little pods of these eventually. But that's kind of the direction I'm heading right then. And if I could franchise it, then that would be my exit. I would find a GM for the one here and then look to franchise in other core markets where I know that they're large institutional or just large single family rental portfolios that have this need. And then as far as technology, I'm probably going to do that until I hang up the hat and I'm not doing anything anymore. I watched both my grandfathers when they retired, they still worked. Whether or not they went to the job, they still worked. So I view us, we're going to be, instead of, going out and tinkering in the garage, we're probably going to be tinkering in technology someplace, just because that's probably the way the world's going to be then. So
yeah,
that's why that's my exit, I guess, is my exit. I'm going to exit doing technology.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I can relate. My dad, he's from Cuba, and my dad's side, they're all Spanish. That's where I get the Gonzalez, my last name. And he was always tinkering his garage, and he was always wanting me to do lawn maintenance and fix this and mechanics work on his. He had Mustangs, Corvettes, all classic cars. Go to what are they, classic car shows. I just wasn't into that, but I think what the goal should be, at least for me, is like try to get financial independence or financial freedom. I'm going to keep my rental properties forever, and I want to hand them down to my kids. I got 3 kids, and keep a cash flowing asset forever, because my motto is I try to help all landlords cash flow forever. And part of that is making your self-management as easy as possible. And I call it self-service management, because I kind of partner with my tenants, get good tenants, and have them kind of handle some of the maintenance. And I carry a home warranty on the property in my lease. It has 3 steps for handling maintenance. Step 1, go direct with the home warranty company, because sometimes on the other side of the world, backwards time zone, they can just handle that on their own with the home warranty company. And I did a test. A lot of stuff I do, I hire multiple home warranty companies, called them up pretending I was a tenant. One time a lady was like answering the phone driving, a baby's crying in the back, and I found out, oh, she has her own home warranty business where basically all she does is just call her own handyman people to get the stuff fixed in certain areas that she operates. I'm like, yeah, next. I canceled that one. And like some of the home warranty companies really cutthroat, hard sales. They're like pushing hard. Hey, no, don't get off the phone. I'll give you a discount, this and that. I ended up settling with American Home Shield. They're not perfect. There's a lot of ins and outs, and you kind of got to learn to work with them. Like, for example, if you have washer and dryers that are stacked, don't be surprised if the home warranty company shows up, or they contact American Home Shield, they hire a contractor. The contractor shows up, walks away, says, yeah, we don't work on these. They're stackables. They're not made to be worked on in the front. And I'm like, dang it. Now, in my other rentals and stuff, I just make sure if it's in the closet, it's one of the stackables combo where it's made to be opened from the front and worked on. Then they would handle that. So anyways, that's just a little bit of me trying to squeeze in some value, extra value. But my exit strategy is never sell, keep them forever, hand them to my kids. But I'm gonna tinker with this. I got my own Landlord channel. I can feel like I'm an old man, like, hey, back in my day, and this is what I did, and this is what technology I use, and lessons I've got. So that's kind of what I'm doing. But you got to get financially free to be able to have, a hobby that you can do. That's just what I think. So from your landlord advice or your experience, what piece of advice would you give like new landlords from your experience doing your own management?
What to give a brand new landlord, huh?
Yeah.
I would worry less about the 2 a.m. toilet call. And I would worry more about how to improve the operation around that asset.
Absolutely.
Again, just coming from a purely operational standpoint, like, can you add an additional service that benefits both you and your renter, and pull down a little bit more income? Make solid surface flooring decisions instead of carpet for longevity. There's a slew of different things you can learn just by opening up YouTube and following people like you that are that self-manage and learn these things as they go. But I would definitely say pay attention to the management side. Everybody kind of throws the management to the side and it's like, oh, it's just something you pay 10% for and you give it to somebody else and it's low margin and doesn't really mean anything. And I always argue management is what makes your margins. How you operate the asset determines how much ROI you pull down, right? It's not just rent. It's how, how do you preserve an asset? And how do you change the roof before you have a leak that you have to change the roof for and you got, interior ceiling damage now? So that's probably my best advice. Before I ever go shopping for a property manager, if you eventually want to do that to scale, learn how to property management at first. That way you know what you're shopping for.
Yeah, absolutely. Good advice. I love how you call people operators on some of your videos. You're like, what's up, operators, or however you do it. I'm like, yeah, because you are like reaching, people like me when you're like a landlord that does your own property management and you focusing your heavy emphasis on operations and streamlining that stuff. Yeah. All right. So
it's a mindset. I just want to like kind of dig in there, and I'm glad you caught it. It's a mindset, and that's what I really try to get across to DIY landlords because they don't think of it like that. Yeah. They usually don't think of their investments like that, and they really do. You are an operator. You got to think of how you move that. And I really started coining that a lot when I was dealing with Airbnbs because people weren't understanding that you're in hospitality. You're not really in, this isn't a long-term rental. That's high-touch hospitality. And I was like, you are absolutely an operator. And if you don't think you're an operator on a long-term rental side, then, I can't help you because you are taking an asset, you are leasing it, doing something with it, and you're creating a return. So you have components now that affect your return.
Absolutely, dude. Agreed 100%. So you got any tools, books, resources, people that you would recommend others follow if they're in like the landlording space?
Landlording space. Wow. I do, and I watch a ton of them. I watch a lot of really like macro real estate stuff, and I do that really to get more knowledgeable, not on macro markets because I don't really care about macro markets. It's really to help me understand the micro here in my local, any market that I own real estate in. Having a pulse of what goes on nationally is good, but it doesn't dictate because real estate's super local, right? So I would say I got a lot of real estate accounts that I follow on YouTube, but not really a lot of property management stuff. And just because I don't know, I've been into it so thick and heavy. I don't want to say that because every situation's new. It's just, I tried to expand my horizon in areas I might not know or be as comfortable in. And I just feel extremely confident in how many homes I've managed at one time that I kind of got most of the general knowledge for property management and stuff down. And that's why I was kind of trying to share some of it. So I try to, I gravitate towards where I'm like much shorter in my abilities and my shortcomings are to try to shore those up.
Okay. What about like a real estate investing books or maybe apps or anything you got on your computer that you use a lot?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
What?
That like hands down probably the best book to want to start being an entrepreneur, an investor. It changed I don't know how many people have said it's changed their life, and the basic understanding difference between asset and liabilities. I think that one concept being framed in that book changed a lot of things for me.
Okay. Rich Dad Poor Dad, got it. I have 3 signature questions that I kind of want to ask everybody. The first one is like, do you think tenants should become landlords or strive to be landlords or should be like encouraged to invest in real estate?
Absolutely. I'm a big fan in the traditional American dream. Own a house, then own property. It's the greatest wealth creator that we have access to. So I absolutely think that you should want to rent, learn how to live in a home, buy a home, learn how to operate a home, buy a home to operate, and rent out a home. Absolutely. I think everybody, maybe not portfolios of thousands, but everybody should, if they can, be a landlord.
Absolutely. I agree 100% because you got to get a little bit of that cash flow, that regular cash flow that's going to, sustain you, your family and stuff like that. I know people harp on investing in mutual funds and stocks and all that stuff, but you don't make any money until you sell it. That's a paper asset. You're investing for growth. And then you're supposed to factor in how long you're going to live. And then you're do like a reverse math and say, hey, I don't want to sell too much because I expect to live this long. It's a scarcity way of kind of like living, I think. I like the idea of like a fish in a fish tank, and I have fresh water always pouring in, like my rental income. And once I have my capital, CapEx saved up, I'm like, okay, I know how much I live within my means with the cash flow each month. And you can raise your rents and lower the rents, whatever the heck the economy is doing. But you can't go to your dividend stock and say, hey, things are getting expensive out here. I think you guys need to, increase the dividends. So for me, you got to have like factor in some, rental properties, I think, for your retirement plan. 2 more questions. One more is, why do you think landlords have a bad rap? Like the name landlord, or people hating on landlords, you know what I mean?
Because I think throughout time, there's been a lot of really bad landlords. I just like, coming in from property management, I know there's a lot of very bad property managers. I've worked there's always good, there's always bad, right? In everything. And unfortunately, I think in landlording, and that's why I think as many people that can landlord as possible should, again, maybe not portfolios of 10, but it does give perspective. And I always take the approach of that I try to buy and manage homes where I'll live. And if I won't live there, I don't try to invest there, because that's not a place that I'm looking to, help bring along. But I've lived in every property that I've rented out, and that's been up to 6 now, in totality in my career. And that's just kind of my approach to it, because the human aspect of it is very important, and I think that kind of gets lost. So
sweet, got it. One more for you. Do you think housing is a human right?
Housing is a human right. So
do you think it is?
That's a very good question.
Because do you think it's the government's obligation or responsibility to ensure everybody has a house to live in?
No. Here's my reasoning, is because they can't. It's like, if it was potentially possible, I would say sure. But there's a lot of individual choice that goes into things when you look around, specifically homelessness. Not everybody on the streets is homeless because they didn't choose to be there. And that's the unfortunate piece of it, is that you can't help everybody. So going around with this concept of we can make sure that we check the box for everybody, it's unattainable. So I would say, from that standpoint, when you tell me that something's unattainable, then no, I don't think we should pursue that.
Yeah, same here. And also, I kind of want to relate it back to like the small time landlords. We basically take pride of ownership, and nobody's going to, handle your asset better than you when you're investing into your property and managing it. You really strive to do a good job. You care about your tenants, and the government is not going to do it like that. You know how it is in the military, living in the barracks, tents, and like you're sharing showers, sharing like community kitchens, and a lot of people are messy, and you're going to deal with other people's messy. You know who the stink dirtbag people are and stuff. You don't want to be around them. So if the government is providing houses, they're going to cram you guys into like horrible situations. They're not going to be these really fancy, nice, well-maintained, really good like properties like a landlord that takes pride in what they do. It's not going to be nothing like that. So I appreciate your time, Josh. You the man. I'm going to end this live stream right now, and I'm going to give you the footage, and then let's continue the relationship and go off record now. You want to? Hey, wait.
I appreciate your time too.
I definitely got to give you opportunity to share your stuff. Like, how can people get in contact with you and, reach out and hire you and follow you and all that stuff?
Absolutely. So, Reops Josh on Twitter, Google Reops, new website, Reops Inspects, is coming, where I focus on just inspections. I'm going to take a look at that link tree and work on creating a better customer journey for people that visit. But outside of that, Rumble, LinkedIn, you can just search my name, Joshua D. Decker, and find me there.
Okay, cool. Will you give me all your links, and then I'll post them underneath this video? You good? All right, bro. I'm out. I'm going to end this stream. Thanks, landlords, for tuning in. See you guys later.